tuberculosis, malnutrition, cancer, diabetes, mental health, and many other diseases and conditions. Robert Redford of the CDC praised the organization on Wednesday in tones at odds with the president's harsh criticism. He told the CBS this morning that questions about the WHO's pandemic response should be left until after we get through this. And Nancy Pelosi called the move dangerous and illegal. So that's definitely some pretty strong condemnation from some sources. Obviously, Nancy Pelosi not going to be a big fan of that, probably no matter what you do. But yeah, I do kind of see what Robert Redford is saying there. Like, why not just wait, and why not we just, because they're capable of doing a lot of good research about Corona. We're capable of it. China probably doesn't really care that much, but so why not let's just work together, and then maybe afterwards we can evaluate what they did wrong. And we can evaluate what we did wrong. It's a long list there as well.
I think just because we're cutting funding, it doesn't necessarily mean we're not working together. Right now, another issue with the World Health, the way I see the struggle playing out right now, is that what the United States is trying to do is we're trying to leverage the amount that we're giving to the World Health Organization to hopefully change the institution. And I think that starts. I would not be surprised if we saw that the director of the World Health Organization were to resign in the following weeks or sometime soon. I think there are some serious systemic problems at the World Health Organization at the moment. China has actually cracked down on a lot, at least initially, they cracked down on the first doctors who started to talk to the media and the press about the coronavirus. And the World Health Organization has stayed completely silent on that issue. And then, of course, whenever Trump tries to criticize the World Health Organization, pretty much in any way, Tedros is ready to snap back at the United States, and he's ready to accuse the United States of politicizing an epidemic. Well, I think the World Health Organization has politicized the epidemic even more by bowing down to China's demands and by refusing to acknowledge and cooperate with Taiwan.
Yeah, it looks like Tedros is becoming the clapback king here, really trying to get on his game with this going on. So I do want to take turns to another medium where clapping back is highly valued. It's Twitter, and right now there has been a whole rash of tweets from socialist organizations and student organizations for Bernie Sanders around the country saying, we are not endorsing Joe Biden. We are not endorsing Joe Biden. And this is really kind of a broader reflection of some of the biggest forces on the Bernie Sanders left, and especially the more left-wing forces who are the more diehard Bernie supporters saying that, no, I'm not feeling Joe Biden. I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden. Pretty much my take on it is I think if this is what I would do, and I think you should definitely vote your conscience on this. If you're a Bernie supporter, you do whatever you want. If you think it's fine to not vote for Joe Biden, I mean, I understand not wanting to vote for Joe Biden, even if you're in a swing state. But if you're not in a swing state, if you're in a red state or a blue state, I don't see why you go vote for anyone. I don't condone voting for Trump by any stretch of the imagination. But if you are in a blue state, you vote for, I don't know, the Green Party member there or whatever. You don't vote. You write in some random name like Bernie Sanders or something. I don't have any problem with that. And if I could vote, that's what I would do. First of all, Edward, can you vote? And second of all, do you agree?
I can vote.
Oh.
Well, I'll be able to vote. I'm going to keep it to myself who I'm going to vote for.
Oh,
yeah.
fair.
To be honest, I'm undecided at the moment, but I have a feeling I know who I'm going to be pulling the lever for. I think the whole, I just do not understand Bernie or bust people. I understand what you're saying. If it doesn't matter, if your vote won't make a significant difference if you live in LA or New York City, right? Maybe it makes sense to vote for the Green Party, right? To try to at least push the country more left. But, if you're living in Ohio, right, and you're a progressive, and you want progressive values, and you see that it's coming down between Joe Biden and Trump, right? Like, even if you believe that Joe Biden is like the rapist, he's evil, you know, and you believe Trump is as well, and that there's no difference between them, it's hard to say that, even the smallest differences can have big effects in the end. Or if you're voting for someone who's going to kill 10,000 people versus someone who's going to kill 9,000 people, if that's the decision that it comes down to, you still vote for the person who's only going to kill 9,000 people, right? Because it's going to, like, this election, no matter if you're progressive or conservative, right, you should vote, right? It matters. Like, you're like...
Yeah, I mean, you can vote for, like, your House candidate if you like your House candidate. I know we have Mondaire Jones here, but you don't have to vote for the president, though.
Well, I don't know if I agree. Like, if you're living in Florida, right, and you know that Florida may as well decide the race completely for the presidency, it's going to matter a lot, right? I don't think you can just vote down the ballot and just decide to not vote for one of the two choices.
But I do think,
come election day,
I do think there was an argument like that. I think it's very, very convincing. It's like, how do you ever, like in terms of leverage, it's like, how are you going to get any kind of leverage if you don't have if the Democratic Party knows you're going to come back to them every time. Like, I'm reminded of MSNBC and Lawrence O'Donnell, who's a host there, but he used to work with the Democratic Party. And was like, yeah, I didn't have to listen to anything the left wing of the party ever said or wanted because I always knew they were going to come back to vote for the Democrats, because who else were they going to vote for? Like, are they going to vote the Republican, or they stay home? Like, no, like, they're going to vote for us. And that's how it's the perfect way to just not get anything done and just go back in the same circle, just being like, oh, this sucks, but I guess we have to do it. It's lesser two evils. Like, there is, I think, it's not an overwhelming case for me, but it's a pretty compelling case to be like, you know what, like, we have to at least make some sort of a push and some sort of a show to say, like, we're not going to come right back to the Democratic Party every time, and maybe use that threat to force Joe Biden leftward in a more substantial way than just lowering the Medicare age to like 60, which is not, by the way, what Bernie Sanders did.
There's some. I think there are a few fundamental lies that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party tries to build its movement on, and one of them is that the left wing part of the party is a lot bigger than, like, it's very big, right? And that the reason why they aren't being represented is because turnout is low, right? And there's voter suppression, one of the two. Right. Now, I think the left wing, the far left wing of the party is actually a lot smaller than it seems. And going back to your point about why shouldn't we protest vote, right, to try to move the Democratic Party left? And these same arguments apply to both the Democrats and the Republicans. That's what primaries and caucuses are for, right? Like, the time to decide on a candidate, I think, for both the Republicans and Democrats is pretty much over. And a big reason why I think a lot of the far left people in the country sort of aren't getting their voice heard is because they vote for, working family, like the Working Family Party or the Green Party, right? Versus, being in that Democratic tent.
Well, I think if you're talking about at least last election, the large majority of Bernie Sanders voters voted for Hillary Clinton. They didn't even stay home. They just voted for Hillary Clinton because that's largely what the case is. But in terms of, like, the thing is, I mean, I don't necessarily, people, like, they walk to the ballot box and they're like the average person's like, I'm on the progressive left. Like, I don't necessarily think it happens like that. But I think there's a lot of people who are like, okay, we need Medicare for all. We need, like, free college. We need the Bernie Sanders platform, but they think in a large degree it's not electable. Like, that's borne out by every poll, every exit poll from the states that had exit polls, even where Joe Biden won by a landslide. It just shows you that, like, you have a group of people, at least in the Democratic Party, that are in favor of these policies in a big way?
This is probably the second biggest lie, right? That the progressives tell themselves, that their ideas are universally popular, right, among like all people. For Medicare for all, right, if you look at the polling state by state, it varies a lot depending on how conservative the state is, right, or the electorate of that particular primary. But if you add the catch, right, that your taxes will go up, right? Like, would you support Medicare for all if your taxes were to go up? Support plummets completely, right?
That's a misleading question, though, because your taxes will go up, but you will end up paying less per month for healthcare costs because you'll have no premiums or any of the costs you pay to your private health insurance. So it's not really it's a really misleading question, because it's kind of the same thing that they tried to do to Bernie in the debate, and he was honest on.
I can cite you studies. It largely depends on how expansive Medicare for all is and what it'll cover. If it covers dental, right? If it covers if it covers vision, right? If it covers all these other miscellaneous benefits, if it covers mental care, it's going to cost a lot more, with all things considered, for most people, that is. And then there are other left-wing ideas, right? It's like allowing like the Boston bomber to vote and stuff like that. These things poll horribly. Same thing with decriminalization of the border crossing, right? Like these things are just not popular among the country. And I think they're more unpopular than they are popular among the Democratic Party too.
But those aren't really like the biggest ideas, I would say. Like, I do get like, I don't think Bernie Sanders, like, maybe his like 20th priority would be that, like the letting the people vote from prison. I think it's a good idea. I think it's an idea. At least felons or people out of prison. If you've been in prison and you're out of prison now, I think that's a no-brainer. You should be able to vote right away. But
I disagree.
I mean,
keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. But like, that's fair. But but like, I think the biggest things are the college debt programs, like canceling student debt and making college free, and then you have Medicare for all, and then I think the biggest one that's like it's getting more and more popular, especially with what we continue to see with the climate change crisis getting worse, is the Green New Deal. And I think if you those are the three big things I think Bernie would go for, and if he got elected president, he would not pass all of them. Like, it's very likely that he would not pass all of them. But I mean, those are, I think, the biggest ideas, and I think those are pretty popular. Like, they're not like overwhelming, they're not like 80-90% of the polls, but they're overwhelmingly popular. And if you at least start somewhere, like, I think you can get a lot done. Like, the reason why I support, like, for example, Bernie Sanders over Elizabeth Warren, because I think at the very bare minimum, like, not to mention like the way that she behaved throughout the campaign, but at the very bare minimum, it was like he's someone who's gonna like go to the mat for these causes. He cares about them. It's his like big animating thing, and he'll get something, like, he'll really get something done. I believe that she would be much weaker on these issues and doesn't have nearly as deep a commitment to them. But yeah, that's pretty much my rationale on that. But
well, I think Warren is. I think this isn't the last time we'll see of a Warren. That's my prediction. Come 2024, 2028, I think she'll be back.
I don't know about that. Like, I don't think she'll have much success because, like, who's she gonna appeal to? Like, if she fell flat on her face, like, she'd lost all her credibility. Like, it could be tough for her to hold on the Senate seat. Like, the way the Republicans are in Massachusetts, like, they have in Massachusetts, their governor there is a Republican. If they get someone like him to run, like, or maybe like Democrats, like, I don't know, there's an appetite among certain people on the Bernie Sanders wing to like primary, although I don't think that would ever happen. But I mean, Elizabeth Warren, she did not do herself any favors with the way she behaved during this presidential campaign, because it was just like, Jesus.
I think she's far too popular for the Democratic Party to let go of at this point. Maybe not among like her original progressive fan base, at least. But I expect that she might.
Like she's one of the top 10 least popular